I want to start this first discussion by asking a common question to all the five, starting from Neka, Lekha, and we go this order. A quick answer on what do you think are the requirements for all the HR professionals that are here when it comes to digital competencies? Only for HR professionals.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
First thoughts. Yeah.
Perfect, thanks. Great question to start with, and I've been put on spot, so let me answer the question first, right? I will probably take a couple of steps back and talk a little bit about industry revolution, right? The first industry revolution was propelled by steam. Then came the second, which was electricity. And then third came, which was probably basic automation and more of machinery. And today we are here on the fourth industry revolution, where we're talking about intelligent computers, right? I might also take his quote, COVID could also be a propeller there, right? But having said that, intelligent computers is what we're looking at as of today. Right, so when I look at the fourth industry revolution, in my mind, what are we talking about? There are four key tenets which we are talking about here, right? One is connectivity and data. We are connected all across, right? Whether it is so-called X or erstwhile Twitter or Facebook or whatever we're talking about, we're connected with everybody. There's a humongous amount of data which we have. So that's my first tenet, right? The second tenet is all about analytics. Intelligence and analytics. The third one is human and machine interactions. Everybody has Alexa at home, right? And the last one, which I feel is the advanced engineering. On the spectrum of advanced engineering, what we have is on one side we're talking about, let's say, renewable energy, and on the second side we're talking about, of course, our rover is on the south pole of the moon, right? So that's advanced engineering, what we're talking about. That's just one part of the story. The second part of the story is, how did we get here, right? And that's us. There's nobody else, it's us, right? It's you, it's me, it's our employees, it's our people whom we interact day in, day out. And what in us got us here is our competencies, is our digital competencies which got us here, where we are able to call this era as of intelligent computers. Even today, we call that as artificial intelligence, right? The actual intelligence is with us. So unless and until we have the required competency, whether it is HR, whether it is anybody, from any industry, any platform, whatever we're talking about, unless and until we have those competencies, which is required for us to drive this fourth industrial revolution, we will not be able to have a growth, we will not be able to live a peaceful and more happier life and have a world-class experience. So I think that's how relevant it is.
Good start, ma'am. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, I think all of you can hear me. Before I answer, I think I always do this. Think of the professionals. One, a doctor, a lawyer, and probably the third would be probably a teacher. Throughout this, from the time we kind of have understood these professions, we've always seen that they come back and they study. A doctor still studies because each case, imagine he's a surgeon, he studies because criticalities. Same goes with the lawyer, and I think the same goes with even teachers. So what does it mean? I'm picking up words from what Vikas said in terms of the fact that reskilling, it's very important for us to reskill. What she said is about historical events which has made people to understand that change is important, and they kind of have changed. What is that change is nothing but, again, they reskilled. So people were fighting with swords, the guns came, the guys who kind of reskilled them from probably swords to to guns, had their job as with the employer, whatever it was, right? So I think this is one important thing. The other two important things are the narrative skills and the presentation skills. I think I could not answer that point of time to one of the lady who had raised the question that how do I popularize? Think of an airport. Today in the airport, if you see, they put a big display of how you should put the stuffs, right? It's called Drishyam. I'm sure all of you have watched the part 1 and the part 2. So a lot of HR fraternity, all of you say that how do I popularize? It's the innovative thinking. It's nothing else. The leaders in the company always look at you and say you are a cost, and probably to the other department saying that you are generating revenue. The difference is the innovation. So if you want to make the cut and start making them think that you are different, you have to be innovative. That's second. Third is learn from others. It's not possible that everything, I mean, one of the reasons why we always look for these opportunities is because of the fact that from Rajan's presentation I picked up something. I know Vikas, I'm going to pick up many things from them. I mean, my pad is there, I've started writing. And tomorrow it happens that, you know, people pick up, and that's how we learn. So that's very important for all of you to learn. And I think the last point is we heard about Johari's window. Ask yourself the question that am I good? Am I going to be a better version of me the next week, the next month? If not, work on that. I think that sums it up. Thank you.
Shivam sir.
Thank you, Mr. Prasad. With due acknowledgement to what Ms. Lekha and Sudeep said, I just would like to take a slightly different angle, because it's an assembly of HR colleagues. Starting from Neanderthal age, at the Stone Age, we have changed. God has created us with the capability to change. Okay? Either you change or you perish. So the change to digitalization or digital transformation will take place. And in the corporate world, even if you don't want to change, if you want to survive there, you will be forced to change yourself one day or the other day. The question is time, whether you change early, so you are a forerunner, or you change late at the end where you are left out. But what I am trying to tell you as a HR professionals is that behind every digitalization process or the earlier computerization process or whatever the process is that, we should have that one single competency to look at the people behind this data and analytics, artificial intelligence or machine learning, whatever it is. As a HR professional, your main competency, learn all the things. Required, no doubt about that. But don't lose the competencies to see the person behind whatever you do. I just want to take the example of your problem with the leave. Okay. Have you seen the person behind that your policy? That is critical. If you have seen the person behind the policy, your policy would have, you are already moderated. What, like Vikas said, there are n number of ways to manage these things. But many times, we as HR professionals, we are driven by certain ambition or a need or our own inquisitiveness to learn something without giving the human perspective to that learning.
Absolutely.
So my take on this whole issue is learn everything, change, digitalization, digital transformation, let all the three phases go. But see the person who is in the organization for whom you make all these processes. Thank you.
Great. Human perspective, absolutely, yeah.
So all of what you've said, and just a couple more. I think as HR professionals, a few things that have held me in good stead is learnability. And we've spoken about that. Learning never, ever, ever stops. If you think that with 5 years of experience, 10 years of experience, 2 decades of experience, you know it all, I'm sorry you don't, because the goalpost is constantly shifting. I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, I joined as the head of learning for a data science startup. And honestly, I have no freaking clue what is data science, what is Python, what is Hadoop, what is SQL, data lakes, but I made it a point to read. And when I read, it just went over my head. Then I, resorted to asking specialists, and I told them, explain it to me in extremely simple language. So we all have different learning preferences, understand what works for you. Right now, I believe, and because you spoke about ADHD, so I have ADHD, and I find it very difficult to learn. I find it very difficult to stay in the moment and gather stuff. But understand your learning preference. Right now, podcasts work miracles for me, right? Because I'm eliminating some external stimuli and just focusing on what the podcast is. So figure out whether reading helps you, a podcast helps you, a e-learning, bite-sized module helps you. Please keep the learning trajectory going on for you. The second most important thing is be creative, think out of the box, challenge the process that you're working on. Somebody spoke about exit, somebody spoke about something else. And trust me, again, I'll go back a few years ago. I was working on this project on getting all the IT infrastructure of Wipro accessible for people with disabilities, which meant that somebody with a speech impairment or visual impairment could still work on the applications because it was all compliant to the web accessibility guidelines. And at that moment, I sat with the IT head and I asked him, how about we offer this as a service to our clients? Our clients are still not thinking about accessibility. We have started thinking about it. So the point here is we all can create our own, forms of the revenue generation. Be creative, think out of the box. These are the two things that are extremely critical. In leadership assessments, when we want to assess if this is a digital leader, we don't put the leader through a digital assessment like, an AIML assessment. We actually check for learnability, we actually check for agility, we actually check for adaptability. These are the soft, I don't like using the word soft skills, but these are the soft skills that actually promote digital adoption and evangelization. Be storytellers. I loved what Sudeep said. As HR business partners, please learn the art of storytelling, right? If you're to package what you're doing, like right now we are moving into an HR digital HRMS, and it's very boring, to be very honest. I mean, I just don't like it at all, the product itself. But yes, we are making this change for 70,000 employees, and what I am requesting the communications team is, let's do great storytelling. And they're like, how do we package this? So again, the whole thing of how do you storytell, how do you influence, how do you help in the change management process?
Thank you. Thank you.
So first of all, I think the last one to speak, so it's easy just to summarize everything. And let me pick it up from what Simi, last said. Be a great storyteller. First thing, 2-3 years back or 5 years back, we had a huge thing by Prime Minister of India coming on TV and saying, next day onwards, the notes are not working, right? All of us would have seen that era, right? First day, huge issue, not possible, everything dropped. The moment I turned on the TV, I just entered at that time at all. I was like, is this a joke or what is going on? And believe you me, at that time, and I'm not saying anything on politics, sorry, nothing on politics, just a storytelling. The person marketed it so very well that next time came up with the thumping majority. 2 big steps. Demonetization, GST. The way it got marketed, the government got re-elected, everyone suffered. Everyone suffered. Not even a single rupee of black market or black currency was found. As per RBI, I don't know. 99 point something was returned, which means every single rupee was what RBI printed. The thought was, we want to take off fake currency, hence we have done it. But still, the same government came back with a thumping majority. That's the art of storytelling.
Great.
So whenever you think of, that is the art of storytelling, is that we should look at. Nothing to do with politics, sorry. Second, I will take 1 more minute over here. with respect to what digitization, it's a necessity today. It is no more good to have. Geo Mobile, I think it came a few years back only. I think 5 years or 7 years back. And today, they are number one, beating the Airtel as well, with almost 20% more subscribers. In case, and if you remember, prior to Jio, it was all hard copies. Your Aadhaar was collected hard copy, your PAN or whatever was required, it was hard copy. The change that they brought in was they tied up with UADI. They said we will do it there and then, rather than collecting the hard copies, sending it to someone, then activation and all that. They changed the entire industry, did everything digitized, and within several years, they have beaten the market. That is what digitization can do or is required to do. And hence, HR professionals, if we are not, I would say, going to that path, we can't be leading. We will always be considered okay, and whatever memes that we get will be always considered as, okay, Rangoli bana lo, Diwali saja lo, floors plan kar lo, that's what we will do. So that's why the only thing is, it is the need of the hour, and we have to have that skills. There is no saying that, we will do it later. This is today that we have to do it.
Thank you, sir. My first directed question is to Shivam sir. When I first saw him this evening, I thought when somebody told me that he has 40 years of experience, I told him he looks 35 and how can he have 40 years of experience?
Thank you.
But on a serious note, 40 years of journey in HR, the skill sets that were required in 80s versus the skill sets that are required in 2023. What are the skill sets that you can dispense with, leave, and what are the things that are a must? 1 minute, sir. Quick 1 minute answer.
Since I have the advantage of having worked in the pre-LPG, the liberalization, privatization, the globalization age, and then the post-LPG, that's later part of the great Narsimha Rao Manmohan Singh team. Up to 1990s, basically we used to be, I qualified as postgraduate masters in personal management, industrial labor. Today they call nice days human resources. But what we were doing we were principally ensuring there is peace in the industry.
Peace in the industry.
Okay. We used to do all the gimmicks. I worked as a personal officer, then I became a deputy managing industrial relations for a huge unit of HMT here in Jalahalli. And probably why I balded my head is the impact that I have taken those days. Our job was basically to maintain peace in the industry or the industry where you work, and to ensure that there is a production process is not hampered. There is no stoppage. This was our main activity. Okay, we used to do little bit, some administration, some no employee engagement is something unknown. It was a union which used to engage the employee. We never had. And managers are always in the receiving end. And thanks to our LPG process, starting from the 1992-93, the new narrative of what the corporate human relations and the corporate human resource management started taking place. Okay. Now, okay, then there are, even earlier days also there was a performance management system. Again, it was only ticking the boxes, nothing much. It's all depending upon what supervisor did. But post, what happened is, there is lot of respect for an individual started coming.
Absolutely.
And the responsibility to manage that respect slowly started shifting from the union to the management. Okay. This is where the real value addition I can see. There was a process of evaluation wherein the management started taking responsibility for everything that is happening in the employment life of an employee. Okay, that is a fundamental change which took place. Okay, I had the opportunity to go through that process slowly. Then came later part of the 1990s when the actual HRMS systems and the computerization, all those things process started, where it is not a digitalization. Probably we transfer the data into the hard copies into some kind of a computerized or printed format. Nothing much beyond that. So that was the learning process, and then subsequently the actual digitalization process started later part of 2015 onwards. But few competencies, whether you were there earlier, whether you are now, has not much changed for the HR people. I would like to underline the HR people. In my opinion, many of our youngsters are missing this point. The one, whether you are maintaining the peace or you are in the most advanced form of human resource management, the connect with the employees have to stay intact for any HR person. That competency cannot be compromised.
That's an evergreen competency.
Yes, that's one of the main competencies which cannot be compromised. I don't know what will happen in the next 20 years. At least as of today, I'm with my 100% commitment, I'm telling you, that competencies to relate with your employees has to remain intact.
Great.
Point number 2. There is somebody said that, the employee has issues, but he couldn't go to the line manager, but he came to me, and why should the HR person did, and HR person did not do something. You explain. The point I'm trying to explain to you is, with all the processes, with all the digitalization, etc., still the last mile connectivity for an employee is a human being. Let the last mile connectivity, after he exhausts everything, the last mile connectivity, it could be a supervisor or it can be a HR guy. If he has got the trust with the supervisor, he would have already gone to him. He would never come to you. He would have gone and discussed with you. But when he is coming to the HR, he is exhausted all the available avenues and he comes to you. And that is where, as a HR person, we should have the competencies to establish the trust. When an employee comes to me, he will be heard 100% without biasness, and to the best of my ability, I will try to give him a solution which may not be always acceptable to him, but I still have the trust with the employee that the solution I am trying to tell him is acceptable to him, though it may not be as per his requirement.
Great.
The third competency, which is again essential for all of us, is to look at externally. Many of us, we have failed in looking externally. Externally when I say is beyond your HR department, beyond your organization, beyond your four walls of the factory or the corporate office that you are working. We need to, HR person has to now look at externally. Externally when I say, the end external beneficiary of any organization is the customer. Do we have the ability to look at that? Again, that gentle lady asked, how can I increase the revenue? Like, the technical manager, whomever it is, you asked that question. My question is, can you relate yourself looking externally with your customer? If your customer is somebody who is requiring your service, can you look at externally and prepare yourself to serve him being inside the organization? These are the three things I think the change that has taken place.
Perfect, sir.
And I hope I answered your question.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Now that Aurora said that you are missing the line, I will jump to you and ask you this question. Your experience is in large format retail, telecom, all very heavily manpower dependent industries. You can pick up that the other one, Mike. So to have the competencies, Anand sir, in large format retail, where very large workforce is there on the shop floor attending to customers, how do you identify their competency upgradation requirements? And then how do you go about training all these thousands and thousands of people in landmark, your Max stores, or telecom companies, Airtels, wherever you have worked in telecom industry, such a large force of very diverse capabilities, how do you identify their gaps and fill them?
Okay, so let me start that with an industry where I have worked. So any of you has visited to any QSR, which is McDonald's, Domino's, Pizza Hut, KFC, any of you? No one has visited this QSR? Almost everyone has visited, right? Do you find, I would say 90 to 95% or more than 80%, the product taste, whether you have it in north or south, the product taste is almost similar, right? There's never a difference in the product, right?
Yeah.
Because I worked there, and when I was working, I could feel, whether it's our own restaurant or it's a franchisee restaurant. Believe me, I was able to at that time. Now I can't. So maybe at that time, because we were having regular over there. So what happened over there and what was it? It was actually the right SOP that was drafted, the right product that was delivered, which means each and every person, whosoever is cooking there, knew that at what temperature the thing has to be heated, the oil has to be heated, and up to how many minutes it has to be heated. And it was right up to that seconds. And everything, I don't know whether you are observed or not, everything has a shelf life. I worked in KFC, everything had a shelf life. And the team member who is the front line whom which, you go and place the order, had an authority. The moment it is out of shelf life, just pick it up from there, throw it in the dustbin. No questions asked. Absolutely no questions asked by anyone. Not even the store manager can say this is a wastage. That's the kind of authority that was given to the frontliner. And that is what, when we come to a large format retail, that we do. The people who are there on the floor are given independence, have been given a curriculum or I won't say it as a curriculum the way it is, because sitting in a business school, curriculum will mean like this. In case they would have thought of doing a business school, I think they would never have stopped studying after 10th or 12th, because these people are 10th and 12th passed, right? The people whom do you interact with. They're not one of those who are sitting in this room. In case they wanted, yes, they would have studied, but somehow maybe the financial status didn't allow, or maybe they didn't want it to study. So finding that who is ready to learn itself is a task. And then teaching them in that way is another task. So again, let me take you back to the QSR days. Now what we did at that time is we made the entire thing or entire learning material. It was a US company. We made the entire learning material in similar way as a mythology. We connected that entire training manuals into short stories of depicting it like a mythology, right? And almost every Indian has gone through a mythology with respect to Ramayana or Mahabharata. Almost every Indian, I would say today, knows at least a ballpark story.
And the language used is regional language and Hindi?
It is regional language.
Okay.
And Hindi.
Absolutely.
And English wherever you require, but not every language that you can really go into, right? So the stories that were picked up, like, Atithi Devo Bhava, was picked up from one of the mythological stories. And it was not like, and it is all ingrained in us, right? You need not kind of train anyone that Atithi Devo Bhava, and then actually, we never said customer is the king. We always used to say guest is the king. Yeah. And we always used to say customer is the guest. And that guest will take you, and you need to take care of your guest. That's how the thing started. Yeah. Similar thing in, say, a lifestyle or a Max. We have guest. We never say customer is coming. We always say guest is coming. And then the overall thought process changes. The way you look at it.
I think it's the training is on the orientation that
the way
actually
Mr. Goyal said that, who is the customer.
Yeah.
So that's what is kind of, you pick up the small things and then you turn it more around in such a way that these are small bites that people can actually take. Yeah. Because if you give 200 pages manual to a person to read and study when he is sitting or he is living in a room with 10 other people? Because that's the salary that they get. They all get minimum wages. 10,000 rupees, 15,000 rupees. That's the salary that they get.
Yeah.
Because beyond that, business can't afford. And living in a city like Bangalore or a Delhi with 10,000, 15,000, I think we all should know how it is. They always share the rooms.
Yeah.
So all that is kind of, then you train them with that.
Yeah, my next question is to Lekha ma'am, because, quickly sir, we'll move fast.
I just wanted to, I know time
Yeah,
is
yeah.
running short. I just want to add whatever Mr. Anand said. Like him, I worked with Pizza Hut. The learnability and the training comes by practice. In Pizza Hut, if a guest, they're very happy, when they're going out, there used to be a bell which is hanged near the door, and they will ring the bell. And normally when the children are there with the guest, they are very happy to go, somebody will lift, they keep on ringing it. But it is mandatorily taught to the people, the crew member in the Pizza Hut, whether they are in the toilet, kitchen, serving guest, or in the cashier. Every time the bell rings, all of them have to, in a unison, they have to say thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
And the child rings 6 times, they will say 6 times thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
These are simple things which is inculcated into them by way of first learning, then practice, and third as a culture. Then it becomes much more easier. Thank you. I'm sorry I interrupted.
Yeah, sorry. Ma'am, my question to you is, developing competencies, especially digital competencies. You worked in companies like Unisys, Tesco, all high-tech technology companies. So how do you upgrade the technological and digital competencies to already friends of technology? They're all specialists, isn't it?
Absolutely. Great question there, right? I just want to quote something which World Economic Forum said. By 2025, we will have 97 million jobs which will require human beings to interact with machine algorithms. That's what they say, right? I don't even know what that means, right? But one thing, from purely L&D perspective, right, I am a hardcore L&D person. How do I translate that for myself is, Lekha, your job is secure for next 5 years.
That's an assurance.
Kidding. On the serious note, right? The way I read that is 2 things. One, reskilling is going to be there continuously. We're talking about continuous reskilling for me, and we're talking about continuous learning for employees. That's my first take on that sentence, right? The second take on that sentence is, you need digital competencies. There is no way, no getting away from that piece. So those are 2 things which I learned from that quote which comes. And this is, I'm also shifting towards, a little biased towards IT industry because I've been working for a very, very long time in IT industry. Most of our working structure has been all around jobs, right? You develop a person for a particular job. That's how we have been doing things. I think Vikas spoke about it. We need to move to a skill-based organization. What does that mean? You don't focus too much on job. Job is not your core. The core is what is the potential that employee is having, and then start developing the skills for that particular employee, right? And once you start doing it, what is the impact you will start seeing is, one, the agility. It brings agility in your organization, right? Because you're upskilling that person to do his or her current role, but also looking in enhancing or empowering him or her for the next role, right? So the next role, the next project, the next customer, the next account, whatever it could be. So the agility in the organization is much more easier. The moment you bring agility in the organization, the growth comes up a little more higher. These 2 things are in place, innovation definitely will ring the bell.
Great.
Right? So 2 things I spoke. How do I read the World Economic Forum quote? The second thing, how we should move to a skill-based organization. Now, when I look at this whole package, right, the way I read things and the way I talk to my CTOs or the way I talk to my CDOs is, what is that you want to do? The focus is, and everybody says this unanimously, right? technology will come and go, right? I learned C++. Today people are learning completely different thing. But what remains with us is how do you design the logic to do that, right? How do you get to the reasoning of it? So I think all of us spoke about it, and that is, somebody calls it as soft skills, we call it as human skills, whatever skills you want to talk about. Critical thinking, analytical skills.
Problem solving.
Can you handle ambiguous situations? Can you navigate through ambiguous situations, right? Artificial intelligence will help you only this much. The remaining is your intelligence. So I think there is definitely going to be reskilling. We actually do a lot of investment in enhancing people's technology capability. It could be AI, ML and all of that. But at the core, what we focus is, how do we increase their learnability quotient and how do we increase their employability quotient? Absolutely. Right? And all these things are coming from the human skill aspect of it. And I think somebody said, I think it was you who said, technology, whatever skills we're talking about, we still need the human touch.
Human touch.
If you need to grow up in the ladder, if you need to do something different, if you need to bring innovation, you still need the human element.
So the techies are again reiterated on the human management skills.
I'll share something very funny, right? We put them through, I'm sure every organization does this, we put them through communication skills. Every now and then. It's not that they can't talk, it's just that they don't know how to articulate the things correctly. Somebody spoke about data storytelling. Numbers do not mean anything unless and until you can contextualize them. Yeah. Numbers does not mean anything. So I think that's how we understand this continuous reskilling, but our focus is something on these lines.
Yeah, great. Ma'am, let me go to another learned lady, Simi. My question to you is, again, you managed organizations which have huge manpower. Sutherland, Capgemini, Tradence, all these companies have got such huge manpower, 70,000, I think you said in the evening that 70,000 employees. How do you go about digitally making them competent, mass?
And that's a challenge because leaders think that let's go out and hire to fill the skill gap, but it's very expensive. So I'll again give an example, right, to help you all understand this. If you look at NASSCOM's report, it talks about the great divide when it comes to data science skills, and I was part of a data science organization. And there was this need for 500 data scientists like as of yesterday. And how do we go about hiring them? So what we decided was that we'll look at our internal pool. We will do a quick skill assessment. People with a good proficiency in maths and statistics, critical thinking, sense-making capabilities, and those who wanted to shift to a data science career path. We tied up with an external training partner, and they put together a 3-month-long program for us. With capstone projects, and it was a completely blended model. Virtual classes, physical classes, people had to submit assessments, etc. And at the end of the 3 months, we had 375 data scientists
My next part of the question is, do you outsource most of the cases? Or is it internal talent?
So any training program is a collaboration with an external partner and internal SMEs. We cannot leave a training program and to absolutely outsource it. This particular training program that I'm talking about just 2 months ago won the Brandon Hall Gold Award. And for those of you who do not know what is a Brandon Hall Award, it is considered the Oscars of HCM in the HCM category, right? So that's how, that was the kind of ROI that we generated for the organization. So yeah, this is what we do. We pick up, we do a skill audit, we look at people's interest areas, we know what our clients are asking us for, put people through a training program, and that's about it. It's actually simple.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, quite simple. You made it appear simple. Sir, Sudeep sir, again, you are a you worked in companies now in GU Holdings, but I think your career has been in providing manpower to organizations like Edeco or Teamlease. So how do you give the right manpower who is digitally competent, meeting the requirements of organizations? So how do you get to the act of actually preparing the manpower set for the right set of customers?
I think this question is very interesting because I wrote a note to him while I think Vikas and all were doing, which was, how do you actually prepare? So there are no rocket science, it's about the preparation. If I expect a result, I can't think in the night and the next go and ask the employee that, do you have it? It has to be a 90 days, it has to be a 120-day program. And that's how it is. So what throughout probably the last 15 years we have done is, we have understood each customer's requirements, and we have told very bluntly to customers that don't tell me that I want as on yesterday, because if you are saying as on yesterday, then you have no prediction about the businesses, right? So don't say that. The second thing is, how do you hire? So I think one, we have to understand the demography of the country. India is a great country, and I come from the eastern part. I am in Bangalore from the last 26 years. I've been a KV student, so I know the demographic of the country. Like probably you call me at any point of time, you pick up a location, I'll say maybe in that state. So I understand it very well. What has happened is, in the last 7 years...
You have incorporated the Google Maps in your brain.
Absolutely, of India. I have traveled to many other locations across the globe, but I think fascinated about the demographic things. What has happened
That's
is...
digital competency.
Yeah. So what has happened is, for the effort I have put, you guys can give a big hand.
Yeah.
So what happens is that there are many places where you have the talent, but you don't have the job. So what we do is that we call it mobilization. So there's a lot of places where we mobilize people throughout the country. And the next thing what we do is that we develop the competency in them. So I think ये चल नहीं रहा है is probably we don't bring it in the mind. We only think that how to make it happen, and I think that's the kind of effort that has been made. And the beauty of that is that when you feel, can I make it happen with that particular person, and it works, you see that the cost of rehiring is not there. You hit to the productivity, and the most important thing it is that if you are hitting gold, you need to let the other people know. Most of the problems which we have seen with many other companies is 5% of over exceeding results needs to be put to other people, that this is what the good part is happening. Working in silos and just appreciating those 5 people out of 100 or probably 20 people out of 100 doesn't work. It has to be in public. Next, you need to have another category, which is people who are gradually improving. You need to even appreciate them, because that's the next thing that comes in. Because an interesting fact finding was done, that what post-pandemic probably, what is the thing that people are running for? Options were money, peace, attention. You know what? The first thing was attention. Third was money. So people want attention, then they want peace, then they want money. So I think maybe pre-pandemic it was money, but now things have changed.
But they still complain on the salary day.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very interesting thing. Like again, if you are able to bring it to the people, right? If you are able to build that to the people, that salaries is depending on what work that you do and the competency that you bring onto the table. Absolutely. I think it works. Like I hear it. I mean, 2 things. I'll just finish off this. When at a younger age, I used to hear a lot of multinational companies while in the calls and the meetings saying cheap labor. I used to say, never say that. It's cost effective. India is cost effective labor. Never call us cheap. The second thing is, whenever I hear that HR does Rangoli, I tell them that it's a nice face. उन्हें कहते हैं HR, नहीं, HR उन्हें कहते हैं जो ईद में भी करे दिवाली, which means it's nothing but inclusive. So the next time anybody tells you that you guys are only doing Rangoli, say no, we bring inclusivity. We ensure that people are inclusive, people are happy, because happy employees are the source of productivity as well. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I want to throw one common question, maybe one or two of you, quickly if you can answer. We also have got a time constraint. Let's try to close by 21:05, maximum another 9 minutes or so. A common question, smiles, etiquettes, personal rappos, are they things of past when it comes to HR function and HR analytics, what you call payroll management, softwares that operate human record, are they the only ones that are getting importance of leadership? Any two of you can. But, yeah.
If you say, if you say that no, they don't hold good, I disagree with that. I disagree with that. Am I audible?
Yeah.
I disagree with that is because I think only if that happens, that probably there is an earthquake or a tsunami and mankind is getting over such things. Till the date, mankind is there. I think that soft touch, you know, the employee sitting next to you has been working hard because you have a deadline to meet, you have gone to the cafeteria, you're getting a coffee for you and you're getting a coffee for the other person, is what is going to keep employees go further, not machine language, not AI, nothing.
Excellent, very nice.
That's how it is.
Anyone else? Anand sir, Simi ma'am, anybody?
Let me try that out. So, you know, I compare technology always with money. So, if you look at it, money, the way you use it is whether it is good or bad, right? So, same thing goes for technology, how you are going to use it. Now, I think everyone specified, or like Shivam said, empathy. When you are in stress, you always want to talk to a person, even though the words would be same.
Yeah.
Even if I will make a technology or if there is a AI whom I can talk to, words would be same coming out of that AI versus the person talking to the other employee, but still I want to talk to a person at that time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Facebook helped us to maintain our relationships.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe I can wish anyone, if I'm not able to at least talk, I can wish there. But that couldn't replace if I call someone and say, hey guy, happy birthday, even if it is 11:59 and another 1 minute the day would have changed.
Absolutely.
Right? Still, that 11:59 happy birthday or wish you a good luck would make much more difference, whether it is personal or official or otherwise.
Absolutely.
So I would say, you know, technology will grow and should grow and we should learn, but at the same time, empathy, relationship hold the same value and will remain the same value wherever, whenever we are.
Simi ma'am, quick. Yeah.
I'll add on the empathy piece. How many of you know the golden rule of empathy? Golden rule of empathy? Treat people
The way you like to be treated.
the way you like to be treated. Yes? Have you heard of the platinum rule of empathy?
BG sir will tell.
Which is?
As they would like you to do, rather than
Almost there. So treat others the way they would like to
They
be
would like
treated.
to be treated, yeah.
And again, when it comes to etiquettes and smiles and all of that, if it were, you know, something of the previous era, then a lot of these, you know, training companies would not have survived. In fact, I follow 3 Instagram influencers who teach on a daily basis how to hold a cup, how to smile, how to sit, because that's something you know, there's so much of country and cultural context. But again, coming back, empathy, as an HR person,
It's a must.
and treat people the way they want to be treated. Most times they just want to come and vent.
Yeah. I want to give the other two panelists who didn't answer this part another what you call challenging question that the HR fraternity here must be having. Chat GPT is looming large, and I think most of the HR people also must be thinking, will it eat our jobs? Because job description Chat GPT will do, you know, many other functions it can do. So how do HR professionals navigate this era of competition with ChatGPT? I mean, yeah, go ahead.
I'll pick the cue from the previous question, right? The way I look at it is, I use ChatGPT, definitely.
And you're safe.
Yeah, I'm safe. So the cue from the previous question, right? I look at technology as an enabler.
Yeah.
Right? What's wrong if I'm doing a presentation and if there is an enabler for me, there's a tool for me which can just make it look better? What's the harm? Do it. Go ahead and use it, right? It's not replacing me. It will not replace me because the value which I bring to the table can never be brought by ChatGPT. And some of the key things which we as human beings would bring, the first one is empathy.
Yeah.
Right? ChatGPT cannot bring that. And there are a lot of issues which the entire organization or the entire industry is dealing with ChatGPT, right? Issues, ethical issues. That cannot be resolved by ChatGPT, and that is the reason why there are limitations of how you can use ChatGPT, why it is not so much available for us to use that, right? If it was all foolproof, we should have been allowed. It is not allowed because the value, the ethics, the empathy, the human touch, everything what we bring to the table, ChatGPT cannot do it. So ChatGPT will not replace any of our jobs. What it will replace is probably the redundancy, the repetitive job which we do. It can probably do your reporting a slightly much better. It could write your email little more better, which you can go ahead and use it. Right? What it cannot bring is creativity. What it will give you is more time to be more creative.
More efficient.
More efficient. Think out of the box. Do something which you never had time for. So think about it and do some things for your employees, and don't worry about, whether the ChatGPT will replace you. Trust me, it will not replace.
Shivam sir.
I'll just take an example what you guys saw from the keynote speakers. Presentations can be done exceptionally well, which means making the presentations. But the way I think both them have delivered, ChatGPT cannot replace that.
Absolutely.
So I think we have the answer in front of us.
That answers.
No, wait till the charges come. You've seen Avengers?
Okay, I would like to look at it in a slightly different perspective. I'm not a technology guy. I had a very short stint with one of the new age technology company. Honestly, I couldn't survive. I said, thank you very much, I'm going to brick and mortar company. I left. It was way back in 2000 and 2001. Just 18 months I worked there. So I don't understand a lot of technology jargons. But one thing I can very clearly assure you with common sense. Since the advent of our information technology revolution, starting from 1990s, so many jargons, so many technologies, so many languages, so many things have gone in the last 32 years. But the professionals and the profession and the employment continue to exist and grow. There is no doubt. So I am very confident in the next 30 years also, whether ChatGPT comes or any other GPT comes, any other chat comes, the jobs will continue to be there for human beings, quote unquote human beings. But the only difference, what I see is the human being ready for the job for the human being? You have a job for the human being and there is a human being. Is this human being ready for this job for that human being? That is the question. So the consolidating whatever they said,
that preparation is the requirement.
if you are prepared, depending upon what is required today and what is required in the near future, you can't predict because no technology is lasting more than 2-3 years nowadays. You can't predict for too far away, but at least for the foreseeable future, if you have prepared yourself, the respect, the requirement for the human being will not vanish from this earth. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, Simi ma'am, I'm urged and tempted to ask this question because I've seen your profile as a champion in diversity and inclusion. When we talk about digital competencies and skill enhancement in digital, there's so much of difficulties that when you talk about diversity, bringing people from interior heartlands of India where they are not exposed to internet, there you have connectivity issues. So the learning levels, obviously, what a Bangalore boy and or a Delhi girl gets, and person from interior heartland has. Do you give some allowance for such people when they get into organizations to catch up with the rest?
Yeah, two things. One is that from an India standpoint, I think the internet absorption is 40% higher in rural India
Is that? Oh,
as
that's
compared to urban India.
What is that?
40% higher.
Oh, that's something I know.
Yes, yes. And so that's number one, which is good news.
Yeah.
And number two is, yes, when we call it a, equitable organization, right? It's important that organizations provide the level playing ground for hiring workforce. In my past, what we've done is we've done the train, hire and deploy model. So you definitely reach out to the tier 2, tier 3 places, figure out the skills that people have, work with grassroots level organization, like for example we worked with Smile Foundation, for example, right? Because sometimes it's very difficult to train people unless you're partnering with somebody who actually knows them in and out. So partnering with outreach organizations and then hiring them, deploying them, and yes, again, I've made it sound simple, but it's actually a little difficult. But yeah, we've done this with some success, yeah.
Okay, I think with the paucity of time, I want to conclude by asking one, maybe 10-second response from each one of you on what are the 2-3 digital competencies, whether it's software or whether it is Python or HR analytics, what are must for HR professionals, most of them young, they need to have going back from this conclave? Must software learnings or platform?
Okay, so I would say look at it from HR analytics point of view, whether it is Power BI or a Tableau or something, where you can actually look into it, and base of all is common sense and logics.
Common sense and Power BI, okay.
I was about to say that, but yes, sense-making abilities, creativity, and thinking out of the box.
Something digital, ma'am?
Yes, I mean, go get more digital savvy, right? So understand a little bit of how a programming language works. You don't need to become an expert. You're an HR person. If you're not with an engineering degree in IT or computer science, it will be a struggle, but understand and,
Get the understanding.
Get the understanding, yes.
Shivam, sir?
I will concur with Ms. Simi. It doesn't matter how the program is written or how the program comes to you. Do you have the basic skills to use that particular program or an app or BI report sent to you from your whichever the department it is? If you can decipher it, understand it, and use with your common sense and intelligence, that is good enough. How the program is written, for a HR guy, it doesn't matter. You know how to use it, that's good enough.
So operational knowledge, yeah, okay.
I think I'll split it into two. For the HR professionals,
Just from my own personal experience, I said I'm not a technology guy, but I have the credit of implementing Oracle HRMS in 1998, then SAP in 2006, again SAP in Aramco in 2009, and again SAP Mobility in 2016. I don't understand any one of this technology. But if you talk to any project manager who has worked with me for implementing these 4 programs, they will say, I will never like to meet this guy once again in my life. Ramco has to revamp their entire program by 60% because I knew exactly what my organization wants and what my employees have to understand from the program. And they have to, the current Ramco HRM system, I would like to claim credit myself along with my team. We have contributed so much to as what they are presenting it to all of you probably today. That contribution comes from us because of our own deep understanding of what we want, rather than what they are going to do it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think for HR professionals, I would say the thinking is solution designing, and the application part is digital transformation. That's very important. For the students, I would say two things: build good narrative skills and presentation skills, because these two are very important for you to say. Most of the struggle today with the kids are what's here doesn't come out, and I'm sorry, but you get probably 3 to 4 questions in which you get judged in a campus interview. So you need to build narrative skills and presentation skills. Thank you.
Presentation skills, yeah.
I'll keep it very simple because of the time. Common sense definitely takes the score. The 3 other things which I would probably call out, one is data analytics, very, very key for HR. And if I relate back to the lady who asked that question, it becomes important for us to demonstrate the value we bring to the table, and if you'll not be able to do unless and until you really know what your data is talking about. That's point number 1. Once you have the data in place, how do you storytell? Data storytelling, very, very key for all of us. And the third thing is, once you have all these things, how do you communicate, right? Use all the possible media, social channels, whatever it is, have a proper digital communication strategy in place. I'll leave with that. One thing to top up all these things is cybersecurity, very, very important, because we are all in the digital transformation game. So be 200% sure whatever you're doing, whether it is ChatGPT, whether it is social media, ensure that your data is absolutely safe and secure. So I think those are the couple of things which I want to add. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I request everybody to give a appreciation applause to the fabulous 5. I think they have said it all. I think the digital competency era of 2.0 that we are talking about generally talks about information and data literacy. I think Aurora spoke about it very well. And communication and collaboration, all the learned ladies and Shivam sir talked about communication as one of the key requirement of digital competency era. And then safety and security, I think the last she talked about the cyber security as one of the literacy that HR professionals need to know as you go ahead in this digital era and building digital competencies to the manpower of your organization. With that, the dinner is waiting. Let's close. Thank you so much. Give a big round of applause to the top 5. It's a real dinner, not a digital dinner. Yeah, let's come. Oh, my pleasure. It's a pleasure to have such what you call acknowledged speakers and knowledgeable people here. Thank you so much, sir.